President Biden is really keeping his distance from the whole issue of impeachment. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki has been asked about this time and again and has said time and again he is deferring to Congress on how and when to move forward on this. But when you look at his legislative priorities, clearly pandemic relief is top of mind, right? He has been talking about it relentlessly for the last couple of days. Just today, we saw him sign a couple of more executive orders aimed towards providing economic relief for people who need it in the pandemic. And he was talking about the economic and the moral imperative of the moment for Congress to act. Take a quick listen to what he had to say today.
We will not let people go hungry. We cannot let people be evicted because of nothing they did themselves. They cannot watch people lose their jobs, and we have to act. We have to act now.
Laura, the pandemic is clearly the single biggest crisis President Biden inherits now. You and your political colleagues hosted a series of conversations with mayors from around the country. What is it that they want and need from this administration when it comes to that relief?
Yeah, they're talking about having a clear message from leaders at the top. So one that is a whole of government approach, and that's something that we did not see in the previous administration, with mixed messages that came from the Health and Human Services Department, the Trump administration itself. What coming to when we're talking about masks and the use of wearing masks, when we're talking about social distancing, there was mixed messaging across the board. And so what a lot of the mayors were saying was that to have someone that is following more of the science, that is also leveling with the American public and saying that we are nowhere near the end of this pandemic, and that there are going to be harder times ahead, potentially before we reach the end of the finish line with this disease and the loss of life that could be incurred because of that. So that was a lot of what they were saying, a really all-hands approach in terms of vaccine distribution, and that they wanted to be able to communicate well with each other, whether that's at the federal, state, or local level, to also assist other cities, to assist other states in terms of making sure that the vaccines reach people in a speedy manner.
Errin, I want to bring you back in here because when you look at where the need is when it comes to the pandemic and its effect, we know that Black and Brown and Native communities continue to be among the hardest hit. And one of the things we saw messaged early from the Biden administration as they were incoming was they were going to address these racial inequities. Have you seen from them specific plans that deal exactly with those problems, getting the vaccine to some of those hardest hit communities, addressing some of that vaccine skepticism?
Well, I think that is going to be factored into this national plan that is still very much taking shape here on, day 3 of the Biden-Harris administration. But we have seen, to your point, Amna, 3 days of daily press briefings, right? That were not just broadcast on television, but were also put on social media platforms in an attempt, I think, to kind of reach folks where they are. I mean, I just moderated a conversation with, 4 of the women who are leading the Biden-Harris communications team, and what they said was that truth and transparency, even in the difficult conversations for the hard days ahead that the country is going to have on coronavirus, and this pandemic, are going to be key to really keeping, Americans informed, and also, restoring trust, not just in the press, but in the public's relationship to government, as this vaccine rollout takes place. But, as we sit here today, we know that there is no 1-800 number that people can call yet. There is no, website where somebody can just kind of punch in their zip code and figure out where they can go to get help. And so that is really what at least President Biden has indicated. The response of the federal government should be more national, and something that they are planning to work on with an eye towards the folks who we know have been disproportionately impacted by this virus, that being, Black and Brown and other marginalized folks in our society.
Let's bring in now another reporter who's been covering all of this. Joining us now is Anna Palmer, founder of Punchbowl News and the host of the Daily Punch podcast. Anna, always good to see you. I want to ask you about this plan. Errin has mentioned, of course, the vaccine rollout is what everyone's waiting for. It needs to be ramped up. That depends on the money being released and funded by Congress to actually have it move forward. The Biden proposal so far, a massive $1.9 trillion plan. He says he wants bipartisan support to move that forward. What are your sources telling you? Is that going to happen?
Certainly the president wants bipartisan support, but so far he is not finding much support in the Republican camp. His administration is going to be reaching out to this, what we're calling the Sweet 16 bipartisan group in the Senate, where you have Republicans and Democrats trying to come together to try to form some kind of unity in the middle. So far, there's been a lot of skepticism by Republicans that you might think would potentially be open to a bipartisan deal. Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, for instance, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, skeptical of not only the price tag, but also the timing. The fact that Congress just passed a massive bill before the holidays and wondering if now is what is needed to do that. There's going to be a lot of room that he is going to have to make up. And I think the president isn't Pollyannish about this. If this doesn't happen, if Republicans don't come together on COVID relief in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see him move very quickly to do a Democratic bill through a policy kind of situation called reconciliation, where they can move legislation without the need for Republican votes.
Laura, what about the pressure from his own party? We're talking a lot about how Republicans will work with him, but you've got pressure from progressives saying, forget bipartisan support, act quickly. Now is the time to act boldly and move forward. How is that weighing on President Biden right now?
Well, so far, there's no indication that he's going to pursue some of the biggest wish list items that progressives have outlined for him, particularly through executive order. A lot of progressives say that they would love for Biden to use his executive authority to forgive up to $50,000 in student loan debt, that they say that he can just do that with the stroke of a pen. Biden has made clear since well before he assumed the presidency that he does not think that he has the authority to do that through executive order, has said he doesn't want to use executive orders in that way. And so he's saying, Congress, it's up to you. And he supports forgiving some $10,000 in student loan debt. So there's a number of wish list items like that progressives certainly want. And Biden is saying the way that he wants to pursue that is through Congress. Now, the question again also that a lot of progressives have on their mind is, how long is Biden going to wait and see if Senate Republicans in that 50-50 Senate are going to work with him, and whether or not things can actually move through reconciliation. And so that's when we enter questions about, are Democrats actually going to pursue getting rid of the legislative filibuster tool, so that way they don't have to rely on Republicans to push through that agenda.
Well, when it comes to getting moving on some of those agenda items, President Biden wasted no time getting to work on day one, signing a slew of executive orders on immigration, on the environment, and the pandemic right after being sworn in. And on Thursday, Biden did something that President Trump had long resisted, invoking the Defense Production Act to speed up production of vaccines and the supplies to deliver them. Biden also rejoined the World Health Organization and issued a mask mandate on trains, planes, and in federal buildings. Another sign of the changing times, the Biden administration rejoined the Paris Climate Accords, halted construction of the border wall, and ended the so-called Muslim ban, all signature Trump administration policies. So guys, I think Anna is still with us now. When you look at these priorities, I know Punchbowl News obtained documents that outline those first 100-day, those crucial first 100-day policy priorities. Democrats just have the majority on Capitol Hill. So what are the real priorities among all of those lists? And how is he going to get this done? Anna?
He clearly wanted to lay out a plan and have each day by day what they were going to do. A lot of it has to do with COVID relief. I think we saw the president signal today. Really, that's the message of pulling on the heartstrings of Americans about the need for COVID relief, not only for the pandemic, but also the economic crisis that he is entering into. And so I think that is going to be the massive focus. Yes, he did things along the way with the Paris Climate Agreement and other things. It was really a signal to the world stage about there's a new leadership in town. But it's going to be all COVID, economic relief, potentially something with infrastructure to try to kind of stimulate the economy somewhat. But that's going to be the massive focus for him, and it's going to be a real challenge.